On behalf of the entire Srijan team, let me welcome all of you warmly to this multilingual poetry Adda. Um, a very special thank you to all our participating poets for accepting this invitation and from coming from all over India. I can see people participating from even as far as Dehradun. And of course, our own president has been able to join from London. Something that would never have been possible without Srijan's team of poetry coordinators. Uh, and we have our poetry coordinators of each language, and none of whom have failed us ever in our 2 decades of worshipping poetry. Let us also feel very happy that today or 2 days ago, the very first Indian has won the International Booker Prize. And we do congratulate Gitanjali Shri for writing the lovely novel Ret Samadhi, and of course her friend Daisy Rockwell for translating it so beautifully. It is good to see that there's at least someone represented on the international Booker. The Booker, of course, many times we have had, but for international Booker, I believe she's the first winner. And today we are especially delighted that our President Uma Dasgupta, Dr. Uma Dasgupta, has been able to join from London. And she, of course, wrote to me a short while ago on the WhatsApp that it is possible that some friends of hers would also join. So we in Srijan are very, very grateful that she has taken off this. I can see in her background the sun, the warm sun idyllically getting in. It is so beautiful for her to sacrifice that idyllic afternoon in London with her family and friends. And I request her to greet you, please, from her London paradise. Uma, please.
Well, a very warm welcome to everyone, and especially to my friends, Teresa Bamford on my right, whom you can't see because obviously they haven't logged in, and Robert Bamford on my left, and they're very happy to join this session. They're very happy to know about Srijan, and especially Srijan's poetry Adda. Short of those words, I think I'd really like everyone to get started so that we can enjoy the poetry Adda, which we do every time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Uma. While we wish you the pleasantest possible holiday in London, but we are eagerly awaiting your return too, so that we can come to know firsthand how you had conquered the hearts of international conference at Srijan in Spain last week. But today we shall not just be listening to super poets from all across India, but also we will discover one of our greatest poets of our subcontinent, who we would never have been able to do so far, although 20 years of tribute paying we have done, was it not for SANJUKTA. Again, Dr. SANJUKTA DASGUPTA will be introducing us to Kazi and Kavi Nazrul Islam. And who better to do it than someone who is herself such a lovely poet. She will not only be paying tribute to Nazrul, but also later reciting her own poems. Our Vice President, Dr. Krishna Sen, is here, and she and SANJUKTA are very close to each other, as you would have seen a short while ago. I request Krishna to please welcome not only everyone else, but especially SANJUKTA. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Basant. Of course, a very warm welcome to the Poetry Addas. And Uma, we are delighted that you and your friends could join. And it's a special privilege for me to be able to welcome my longtime friend and colleague, Dr. SANJUKTA DASGUPTA. We've worked together for a long time. And I think it's, as Vasant said, very, very special when one poet not only pays a tribute, but elucidates for us the work of another poet. It's very different from having a poet introduced to you by a mere reader or a mere critic. A poet's interaction with a poet is what we are going to see today. And so, without wasting any further time, SANJUKTA, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Krishna Di. Hello, everyone. Wonderful to be back with Srijan. But there's no question of being back. When did I go away? And so thank you, Vasant. You were the one who really gave me the platform on the rooftop for the first time to read my poetry. And I couldn't believe it when I said English poetry, you said yes. And so that is how it began, our long association for over 2 decades. And Uma Di, of course, is a very dear person with whom I have had many interactions. And though, as T.S. Eliot had said, when shall we meet again? But who shall meet again? Meeting is for strangers. And we are not strangers at all. And Krishna Di, of course, we can go back years and all those days at the staff room of Calcutta University. And so it's a wonderful feeling. It's like a feeling of reunion, though it's about talking pictures. Yes, it would have been wonderful if it had been in person. But then when we couldn't have got Uma Di and Martin to join because Uma Di is in England. I don't know, Martin is in Germany, most probably. And so this is the world in one platform. And of course, that can be the world in one nest as well. And so today, Adi Nazrul Islam, when Vasant sent me a long list of all the poets of the world who were born in the month of May and asked me to start studying about them, he always sends me these homeworks annually. So I thought, okay, Nazrul is somebody I know a little about because I just am very passionate about his patriotic songs and also his poems. And so I thought, okay, maybe I will be able to speak a little on a poet about whom I'm a bit familiar. But then Vasant really did something more. He issued a chapbook where everything about Nazrul, an encyclopedic introduction to Nazrul. And I thought, now what can I do? It's all there. And the moment I say something, he will say, oh, she's in a copy-paste mode. So the only way I thought I can begin this is by talking about my own personal responses to certain milestones in Nazrul's life, rather than talk in terms of a biography, a critical biography of Nazrul. So the first thing that I have never ever looked upon Nazrul as somebody like we call Tagore Rabindranath in Bangla. Similarly, Nazrul is very close to our hearts. And as you know that Tagore was born in 1861, Nazrul was born in 1899. The difference, if I'm arithmetically correct, is about 40 years. But the two of them met much later. That is, Nazrul was a very young man of around 21 or 22. And Tagore, of course, was absolutely the very dominant, outstanding poet, philosopher of all times, not only about a particular time in terms of his career. But I want to begin a little differently today, though I have just referred to a few biographical details, that Kazi Nazrul had 3 sons. He lost
his eldest son, his first child, 4-year-old Bulbul, who died of smallpox. Though his two younger sons, Shobosachi and Aniruddha, did him proud, Nazrul was not unlike Tagore, who had been devastated by the death of his second son, Shomindranath Tagore, who was about 12 years of age. And Nazrul mourns the death of Bulbul, 4-year-old Bulbul, and he writes in a poem, which is also set to, there's a notation to that, and it can be sung also. It is in the Imon Bhupali rag, and this is the poem Ghumiye Geche Shranto Hoye. And this is my translation, which was published recently in 2 volumes of Nazrul Islam's poems and prose works published from Bangladesh by Niaz Zaman, whom Krishna Dee probably knows, and Fakhrul Alam, who everyone in English departments, I think, all over India know. So I would like to begin with this particular poem, Ghumiye Geche Shranto Hoye. Being tired, he has fallen asleep, my songbird Bulbuli. The fallen flowers of the evening stare pitifully. In the morning, coaxing the flowers to bloom by her songs. Now he has been silenced by the arrow of which savage hunter at the forest's edge laments the evening queen, her tresses untied. From tomorrow, alas, no flowers will blossom in the bosom of creepers, whose sad breath murmurs as the leaves ripple. The songbird has flown away. The nest is empty. In my throat, there's no longer a crowd of words. In the illusory light, no one will arrive by mistake. As Bengali is a gender-neutral language, far advanced than most other languages of the world in this respect, a translator always faces a challenge in the use of the gender-specific pronouns, she, he or she. Here, because I knew about the contextual parameters of this particular poem, how it came about, I inserted a he, though she was what I wanted to write, translated as initially. Kazi Nazrul Islam explored various creative and social territories throughout his prolific life. During his youth, he achieved fame simultaneously both for his political activity as well as his creative writing, which earned him the moniker of rebel poet. Although a Muslim by birth, he was at heart a pure humanist who married Pramila Sengupta, a Hindu woman, out of love, much to the consternation of religious fundamentalists. A passion for liberation pervades his work. Not only did his vast oeuvre consistently challenge the traditional roles and limitations of caste and religion, but Nazrul would be just as likely to compose works inspiring young people to revolt against an unjust authority as he would be to champion the cause of gender equality. He wrote about 4,000 songs, and of course this musical genre is known as Nazrul Giti, as most are familiar with, and there is a true revolutionary spirit in his compositions of patriotic songs. But then again, he went to traditional folk melodies, used the baul, the Santali, the Persian, the Hindustani classical music structures. His lyrical themes touch on universal aspects of the human condition, and his use of the Bangla language at that time was absolutely awe-ravindrik. So he was almost rejecting the absolutely hegemonic influence of Tagore at those times. And he was just breaking free, as Shotendranath Dutta, who of course was snatched away from rather early in his poetic career. And so Nazrul is not only recognized as the national poet of Bangladesh, but I think his music, his writings are deeply admired and referred to in West Bengal, in Assam and Tripura, and by the global Bengali-speaking diaspora. But I think more attention needs to be paid to Nazrul, as again, more attention should have come to Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. But I think all the young scholars and researchers now in South Asian studies will probably focus on these areas which have not been, which have remained a bit marginalized. Now, in terms of what I said, that I would just like to look at a few milestones which might be interesting. Now, Nazrul wrote a lot of, I think, 4 or 5 novels as well. In a novel which was called Madhonhara, there are many references to Tagore and many references to the songs of Tagore in Madhonhara. And Nazrul admired Tagore a great deal. He could sing his songs, he knew his poems by heart, and yet when he wrote, it was not about imitation. It was about asserting a new voice. So at least Krishnadi will remember that we talk about tradition and the individual talent. This was one evidence of that. So Nazrul also, perhaps, according to available data, met Rabindranath for the first time in either July or August 1921. Then sometime later that year, Nazrul met Tagore again, and this time he appraised Tagore, saying that, well, I really admire everything you write. And then, of course, he addressed him as Robi Babu. And yet he said that, well, Robi Babu, I'm going to write things which are going to be absolutely very different from what you do. And the two poets, that is a much younger poet and the much and a 40-year and a poet 40 years older than him, they had formed a great friendship. It was not a friendship where you met each other every day, but it was a friendship which I think bonded them in a way which Tagore is capable of doing every time. And when he read Vidrohi, Tagore, of course, congratulated Nazrul for that poem that makes our blood boil, absolutely, that fantastic poem, Ami Biplobi Ronaklanto. And then in 1922, Nazrul decided to publish a newspaper. And he decided to call the paper Dhumketu, Comet. He requested Rabindranath Tagore for a message for this paper. The older poet readily responded with a poem welcoming the paper. The first line of the poem includes the title of that paper, Dhumketu. Ai chole ai re Dhumketu. And just a bit of translation. Come, my comet, build a bridge of fire across the dark. Let your banner fly in triumph over the fortresses of gloom. Be the night ever so full of dark portents. Come, rouse those who lie half asleep, that they may wake up with a start. Now, this particular lines was so endearing for Nazrul that he's printed them on the 3rd page of the editorial on the 11th of August 1922 of Dhumketu, and continued to be, and these lines continued to be printed till the 6th issue. From the 7th issue of Dhumketu, these lines were printed under the masthead on the 1st page. Now, something happened. In the Puja issue of Dhumketu, dated September 22nd, 1922, Nazrul published a poem. And he was publishing many poems on Hindu gods, goddesses, rituals, and also Hindu customs and various Hindu practices. But this particular poem, Anandamoyi Ragomone, yes, to celebrate September 22nd, almost the puja time. And so this was heralding the arrival of Durga to her parental home. And it was a poem welcoming the goddess Durga to her earthly home. But it was an anti-British poem, with the poet demanding complete freedom from British rule. Not easy in 1922. The police raided the office of the magazine. Nazrul's newly published anthology Jugobani was banned. And on the 8th of November 1922, a warrant of arrest was issued for the poet on charges of sedition. Sedition, of course, as you know, in India, it is a very, very vibrant mode of squashing dissent, but we will not go there. So on 23rd of November, Nazrul was arrested from Kumilla and held in the presidency jail. Now, what is this poem? I just want to share a few. It's a very long poem. And unfortunately, Nazrul's poems are so long that you cannot dare start reading them unless you have the text in front of you. I will just read a section from that poem, just the way it starts, and see the absolute vibrant sort of dramatic immediacy of that poem. Anandamoyi Agumani. How much longer will you hide, woman, behind the statue of clay? The cruel oppressing tyrants over heaven now hold sway. They are whipping child deities, hanging heroes so young. India is a charnel house now. O destroyer, when will you come? The soldiers of God have been sentenced to hard labor, exiled in a faraway land. Who will go to battle now unless you come, sword in hand? Yes, this is about Durga not coming to her parental home and being served mishtis and other delicacies all the time. This is about a very, very aggressive Durga who is being not only invoked, but asked to act. And then, of course, the entire poem goes on about Brahma and Vishnu and all the rest not being able to really do what was needed. There was nothing like resistance in the way the male the male gods were behaving. And here there was an invocation to Durga to take up arms against the terror that the British government had unleashed. And so there's one section in the poem where Nazrul writes, leave Lakshmi and Saraswati, mother, amid the lotus petals, we need no wise old Ganesh to fight our raging battles. Banish him from here, locked in thy shy bride's embrace. A groom upon a peacock, surely that's not a war god's face. So you understand there's so much of sarcasm and so much of ease in addressing the sarcasm, the cynicism, as well as the anger, the angst, the outrage, all of them. In 1922, Nazrul was jailed for writing a poem like this. In 2022, too, if a poet had written a poem like this, I do not think that poet would have been felicitated. I would just like to conclude, I'm going on for quite some time, by referring to Nazrul, just two little episodes. One is when Nazrul was in the Alipur jail, Tagore dedicated his verse drama Boshanto to him on February 22nd. It was one of the first such dedication by Tagore to a member not belonging to the Jorashako family, according to known evidences, though later on, or even around this time, Tagore also dedicated Tashir Desh to Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Now, alarmed at the hunger strike that Nazrul had started in Alipur jail because of various jail administration's way of handling the political prisoners, uh, he Tagore sent him a telegram saying that don't continue with your hunger strike. The telegram stated, "Give up hunger strike. Our literature claims you." Nazrul never got that telegram. He was released in December that year and grew increasingly involved with politics. And this time, of course, he became very involved, though he did not become a card holder, but very involved with the Communist Party. That is the Undivided Communist Party. And there are a number of poems where he had talked, a number of poems about equality. And so equality in terms of all the elite and the masses must all come together. So, but while in jail, Nazrul also composed certain very significant poems. These were Bandana in praise of the jail superintendent, Aaj Srishti Shukher Ullashe, I think all of us know that, Today in the Ecstasy of Creation, and also various other poems that he wrote around this time. And of course, he was absolutely elated when Tagore's dedicated book, that is Bashanta, reached him in the jail. And the jail superintendent was also very surprised that Tagore, who was such an international figure, would choose a political prisoner like Kazi Nazrul and dedicate a book to him. I will just conclude because of the fact that there is so much of interaction between Nazrul and Tagore, which we have not really been able to excavate to the degree that we should have. But when Tagore passed away on the 7th of August 1941, Nazrul spontaneously composed an elegy, The Loss of Robi, Robi Hara, and recited it on Calcutta radio. The reverence that Nazrul felt for Tagore and his grief at his death are clearly revealed in this poem. And he punned on Tagore's first name, that is Robi, and said that Rabindranath shone over Bengal. It was a radiant Bengal. But when the sun set, the world had grown dark. And the only light burning now, said Nazrul in that poem, is the light from Tagore's funeral pyre. And this is how he ended that poem, Robi Hara, with which I want to conclude. He begins like this: The afternoon sun sags on the lap of the descending road. The dark clouds of Sravan swarm in, darkening the day and shrouding the sky. For you, the son of the world, the bard of India, and the heart of verdant Bengal have passed away. And he concludes, will Bengal get such a noble, world-conquering, great human being again? Can this poor land dream ever again of the kind of happiness you gave us? And so, Kobi Guru, our beloved poet mentor, we grieve, finding no consolation, no solace whatsoever. We had thought of you as God's blessing given to us eternally. Let not death's torpor make us forget forever heaven's bounty. As you depart from us, let us plant on your feet farewell kisses. No matter where you are, keep this ill-fated people in your wishes. We can say the same for Nazrul also. No matter where you are, keep this ill-fated people in your wishes. For both Tagore and Nazrul have spoken for us and have also made us understand how important it is to have a mind without fear and a head held high. Thank you so much.
Beautiful translations, Sanjukta.
Thank you. Thank you, Madi.
I can only say that I'm absolutely delighted that due to Sanjukta, another new poet who was lying in the shelves has come back to me full-spirited and absolutely throbbing with life. And I regret many a time, why a poet who had been invited to Bangladesh only to celebrate his birthday in 1972, how he was not brought back, how he is not the national poet of India after he's lost his mind, after he doesn't know where he is, what he is. His three children are one of them, his granddaughter, I think, is sitting in the USA and trying to fight why he has been kept there, because the eldest brother had sent him and he had gone with him there. So these things trouble me, because the more I personally read his poems, the more excited I become to discover poetry which is absolutely out of bounds in every respect, not just rebellion. So for me personally, thanks to Sanjukta choosing Nazrul, it has been a new discovery. And I hope after our talk, everyone will be able to read Nazrul closely and pay him our respect as this subcontinent's national poet. I hesitate to call him anything else but this subcontinent's national poet. Krishna wants to say something?
Yes, I just wanted to thank Sanjukta for bringing out the Tagore connection. This is something that many of us Bengalis have known about, and of course we have read his poetry, but I'm very, very grateful to Sanjukta to bring out this tremendous interaction between two great poets. Sanjukta, congratulations on this wonderful access to Nazrul.
Thank you, Krishna Di. Your appreciation means a lot. I am always trembling thinking Krishna Di shunte pacche.
Krishna Di khub khushi hoyeche shune.
Thank you.
Lovely, really lovely. But I take this time to please show this chapbook to you, and in which each person today taking part today has been fully described. So everything about Sanjukta, which is like her love for Srijan, her participation into various events, her writing, her research, her being on the Commonwealth Prize, and everything else which we think are a glimpse of Sanjukta are there. So are there the glimpse of what's happening, what's going to happen now. Of course, I have to acknowledge the presence of someone who has been with us now regularly from Gujarat, Sitanshu Mehta, Sitanshu Yashash Chandra. Before I hand over to Annapurna, this Sitanshu Bhai, he has got honors and honors galore. Saraswati Samman, National Sahitya Academy Award, Gujarat Gaurav Award. And I was telling Annapurna how he is the president has been the president of Gujarati Sahitya Parishad, the organization of which Mahatma Gandhi was once the president, etc., etc. I won't waste more time. But Sitanshu Bhai, thank you so much for being a part of us, as also all the others who are joining us time and again from distant places like Martin from Germany, etc. Annapurna will now please take over. As you know, please from the chapbook, do consult the chapbook, because I will not waste much time except for telling you that she herself is an MPhil, a PhD from Jamshedpur University, and has been working with us for the last many years, even anchoring events and also paying tributes. And do look at her profile to be fully acquainted. Annapurna, thank you. Please take over, Annapurna.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Basantji, for that kind introduction. And as you said, we move on to the second session of our event today. After a brilliant tribute by Sanjukta ma'am to Kavi Nazrul Islam, so many windows have opened, such wonderful translations and such wonderful recitations, ma'am. You brought everything alive, and we've been listening absolutely rapt. Now we have a dazzling galaxy of poets who will read their verses in Urdu, Hindi, English, and Bengali. May I have the pleasure and the honor of inviting Liladhar Jaguri to make his readings. As Basantji has very kindly told us, we all have a copy of the chapbook, and therefore the bios of the poets are given there. Still, I'll say a few words by way of introduction. Jaguri ji has been awarded the Padma Shri in the year 2004 for Hindi literature, and also the Sahitya Academy Award in the year 1997 for his anthology of poems Anubhav Ke Akash Mein Chand. He is recognized as one of the most respected poets in the Hindi language, and he has a very colorful life. He has served in the Indian Army, where he worked till his retirement. He then taught in various schools and colleges, and then he joined the Information and Public Relations Department of UP as Deputy Director, and eventually became the Chief Editor of the monthly magazine Uttar Pradesh. He is also the recipient of many awards, and we're very fortunate to have him on this platform with us today. So over to you, Liladhar Jaguri.
मैं देहरादून से बोल रहा हूँ। मैं आप सबको प्रणाम करना चाहता हूँ, और सबसे पहले तो मैं इतने लोगों के दर्शन पाकर कृतार्थ हुआ हूँ और अच्छा लगा मुझे। आप भी इस समय पहाड़ पे आ गए हैं तो मुझे अच्छा लग रहा है। कविताएं सुनाने के लिए कहा गया है मुझे, शायद भाषण देने के लिए नहीं, और फिर मेरे पास लैपटॉप भी नहीं है, तो ये मैं फोन पे बोल रहा हूँ। ये फोन सामने रखा हुआ है, मेरी पोती ने इसको मिला के दिया है। मैं बहुत टेक्नोलॉजी पर बहुत कविताएं लिखता हूँ, पर टेक्नोलॉजी जानता नहीं हूँ, और टेक्नोलॉजी से का लगभग टेक्नोलॉजी की तो गुलामी है हम आजकल, और टेक्नोलॉजी की गुलामी तो करनी पड़ेगी, नहीं तो फिर आप तक मैं पहुंच नहीं पाऊंगा, आप मुझ तक नहीं पहुंच पाएंगे। तो टेक्नोलॉजी ने तो हम सबको अपना दास बना ही लिया है, और ये अच्छी बात है। यद्यपि हम कहते हैं कि आज़ाद होना है, गुलामी खत्म करनी है, पर हमेशा मनुष्य की गुलामी शुरू ही रहती है। मैं कुछ छोटी छोटी कविताएं 2-3 सुनाना चाहूँगा। एक कविता है जिसका नाम तो खेल है, बट खेल अपने आप में क्या होता है ये आप देखिए, है ना। बहुत कुछ अपने जैसा जन्मते ही एक आदमी लीलाधर जगूड़ी नहीं था, वही मैं हूँ, वही मैं हूँ, मेरा जन्म ही कठोर कारागार है। मेरा जन्म कठोर कारागार है, जन्म ही कठोर कारागार है, मैं जन्म से ही कठोर कारागार में हूँ। पहले यहाँ मेरे पिता फंसे, पहले यहाँ मेरे पिता फंसे, जब मैं आया वे जेलर बन गए थे। जब मैं आया वे जेलर बन गए, तब से मेरे दाएं हाथ का काम उनके बाएं हाथ का खेल हो गया। मेरी जिंदगी तो कुछ ऐसी ही है, और मैं अपनी जिंदगी, अपने समाज, अपने लोगों के बीच ही अपनी कविता खोजता रहता हूँ। और मैं छपी हुई कविताओं का और जिस कविता का माहौल होता है उसका अनुकरण नहीं करता हूँ। मैं सोचता हूँ कि कुछ ऐसी कविताएं लिखूं जो शायद मैं ही जिसको लिखने के लिए बना हुआ हूँ, और हर कवि की तरह मैं पृथक होना चाहता हूँ, अलग होना चाहता हूँ। मैं कवियों जैसा भी नहीं होना चाहता, कविता जैसी भी कविता नहीं लिखना चाहता, मैं अपने अनुभव को बोलना चाहता हूँ। तो अब मैं एक दूसरी कविता आपको सुनाता हूँ। वो है कि तारीखें भी 30 और आदमी अकेला। तारीखें भी 30 और आदमी अकेला, हफ्ते भी 4 और आदमी अकेला, महीने भी 12 और आदमी अकेला। तारीखें भी 30 और आदमी अकेला, हफ्ते भी 4 और आदमी अकेला, महीने भी 12 और आदमी अकेला, ऋतुएं भी 6 और आदमी अकेला, वर्ष भी अनेक और आदमी अकेला, काम भी बहुत से और आदमी अकेला, काम भी
बहुत
से
अच्छे, बहुत अच्छे।
आदमी अकेला। तो एक ये कविता हो गई, और एक और सुना देता हूँ। ये आपकी बड़ी कृपा, जर्रा नवाजी कि आपने इस पर दाद दी। ये है मेरी कथा,
क्या बात।
माई स्टोरी।
बहुत सुंदर।
मेरी कथा, जीवन के बहुत सारे एंगल हैं कथा कहने के, बहुत छोटी कविता है ये भी। मेरी कथा, फावड़ा घिस जाने की, कारखाना उजड़ जाने की, सड़क टूट जाने की कथा है। मेरी कथा, फावड़ा घिस जाने की, फावड़ा समझते होंगे, फावड़ा जो खेत में मिट्टी काटने के काम आता है। मेरी कथा, फावड़ा घिस जाने की, कारखाना उजड़ जाने की, सड़क टूट जाने की कथा है। मेरी कथा, पत्थर के रेत हो जाने की, पेड़ के लकड़ी हो जाने की, कोयले के आग हो जाने की कथा है। मेरी कथा, पत्थर के
बहुत अच्छी।
जाने की, पेड़ के लकड़ी हो जाने की, कोयले के आग हो जाने की कथा है। मेरी कथा, जाने हो जाने की कथा है। मेरी कथा, जाने हो जाने की कथा है।
बहुत बढ़िया।
मैं समझता हूँ काफी है 3 कविताएं, और
बहुत
बड़ी
अच्छी।
कृपा के आप लोगों के दर्शन हुए और आपकी वाणी सुनने को मिली, ये मेरा सौभाग्य। शीतांशु जी का जिक्र किया आपने, बहुत अच्छा लगा मुझे। बहुत अच्छे विलक्षण व्यक्ति हैं वो, बड़े अच्छे राइटर हैं, पोएट हैं, उनको क्या कहना चाहिए, विचारक हैं। और साहित्य अकेडमी में उनसे अक्सर मुलाकात होती थी, इधर जरा नहीं हुई है। वो बहुत ही एक पढ़ाकू, माने जिसको कहते हैं कि वेल रेड, जिसको हिंदी में कहते हैं पढ़ाकू। हिंदी में कहते हैं कि आदमी को पढ़ाकू भी होना चाहिए और लड़ाकू भी होना चाहिए। तो पढ़ाकू और लड़ाकू किस्म के व्यक्ति हैं वो। लड़ते हुए वैसे नहीं है, विचारों से लड़ते हैं। और शीतांशु जी को भी आपने याद किया तो मैं उनको प्रणाम कर रहा हूँ, और आप सबको प्रणाम करते हुए मैं आपसे विदा लेता हूँ। धन्यवाद।
थैंक यू सो मच जागुरी जी। बहुत ही खूबसूरत काव्य आपने पढ़ा है, and very significant verses. May I now invite Priyankar ji to kindly make a few comments on the verses read.
जगूड़ी जी मेरे प्रिय कवि हैं, तो मैं क्या कहूँ, मैं तो भाव विभोर हूँ उनको सुन के।
यार ऐसा मत कहो। प्रिय कवि, कभी कभी प्रिय कवि जो है ना, परिस्थितिवश होते हैं प्रिय कवि, और परिस्थितियां बदल जाती हैं तो प्रियता भी बदल जाती है।
नहीं, मेरे आप हमेशा के लिए प्रिय कवि हैं, परिस्थितियां जैसी भी हों।
थैंक यू डियर, थैंक यू।
उनकी एक कविता है ईश्वर की अध्यक्षता में। वो कविता मैं अपने कई मित्रों को कई बार जेरोक्स करके दे चुका हूँ। वो कविता मुझे इतनी पसंद है।
भाई प्रियंकर, मैं आपका बहुत आभारी हूँ, आपने इस बहाने मुझे याद किया। इतने प्यारे प्यारे लोगों को देखा मैंने, वाह ब्यूटीफुल। उनके थॉट्स, उनके विचार, जो भी उनकी कविताएं, जो भी उनका कविता संसार है। असल में है क्या, हम लोग अपने पुराने संसार से छुटकारा भी पाना चाहते हैं, लेकिन साहित्य में पुराने संस्कार से छुटकारा नहीं पाया जाता है, पुराने संस्कार से नया संस्कार बनाया जाता है। इसलिए जो आपने पुराने कवियों को याद किया तो मुझे अच्छा लगा। उन्होंने लेकिन रास्ता दिखाया हमें होने का, और होना हमें अपने ढंग से। तो ये जो संघर्ष है, ये शायद आपके यहाँ भी जनरेशन महसूस करती होगी। मैं बहुत से शंको घोष वगैरह दादा को बहुत पढ़ा है और बड़े अच्छे कवि हुए हैं। तो बहुत सारे लोग बहुत अच्छे कवि होते ही हैं और वो नई दिशा भी देते हैं और ये भी प्रेरणा देते हैं कि मेरे जैसा ना बनना। ये जो प्रेरणा है ना कवियों की, ये बड़ी प्रेरणा है। इनसे अलग हो जाना ही कवि होने की सार्थकता है, वरना इनका झोला कब तक उठाए फिरते रहेंगे हम कि ये फलाना कवि ऐसा, फलाना कवि। वो ठीक, उनको याद करना चाहिए, उनका कंट्रीब्यूशन है उनका। उन्होंने हमारे अतीत को संवारा है, सुधारा है, उनको हम याद करते हैं तो बड़ी अच्छी बात है। पर उन जैसी कविता न लिखे तो ही शायद हम अपनी कुछ बात नए ढंग से कह पाएंगे। मैंने ये अपनी कविताओं में यही कोशिश की है कि मैं कुछ ऐसा करूं कि जो कविता में किया ना गया हो। धन्यवाद।
शुक्रिया जगुड़ी जी। जगुड़ी जी के बारे में एक वाक्य विष्णु खरे कहते थे कि तमाम विवरणों के बावजूद वे अपने कवि को बचा ले जाते हैं। तो वो हमेशा अपने कवि को बचाए रखते हैं। उन्हें बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया, आभार।
थैंक यू डियर, थैंक यू डियर।
Thank you so much for such profound poetry and profound thoughts, and especially your message, Jaguriji, not to imitate, but to be original. In fact, a little while ago, Sanjukta ma'am did refer to T.S. Eliot's individual talents and traditional and individual talent. May I have the pleasure now to invite Ubaid Akash to read his poetry. The chapbook already has details, the bio of Ubaid Akash. Still, I'd like to say a few words. He was born in 1973 in Sultanpur, Rajbari. After obtaining his MA from the University of Dhaka, he went on to become one of the most distinguished poets, storytellers, essayists, and translators of Bangladesh. Ubaid Akash has written 43 books, out of which 25 are on poetry. He is a much decorated poet. Professionally, he is a journalist, but has attended many international poetry conferences in many countries, including Great Britain and India, as representative poet of Bangladesh. So may I have the pleasure and honor of inviting Ubaid Akash to make his presentation.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Love and respect to all of the participants. Nazrul is our rebel poet and our national poet. I am very glad to join this poetry Adda, Srijan poetry Adda. আমি সংযুক্তাদির বক্তব্যটা খুব মনোযোগ দিয়ে শুনছিলাম। আসলে এত অসাধারণ বলেছেন এবং এত অসাধারণ অনুবাদ এবং আবৃত্তি করেছেন যে আমি মুগ্ধ হয়ে শুনছিলাম। তো আমি আমার কয়েকটি কবিতা পড়ে শোনাতে চাই আপনাদেরকে। তো আমার প্রথম কবিতাটি হচ্ছে প্রকৃতিপুত্র। প্রকৃতিপুত্র আমার একটি বেশ বছর দশেক আগে লেখা একটি কবিতা। এটি ছাপা হয়েছে রং করা দুঃখের তাবু নামে একটি কাব্যগ্রন্থে। প্রকৃতিপুত্র। ভাবতে গেলে তুমি একদিন আমাদের হারানো শেকড়, হারানো চুল, বয়স ভেদে ছোট হয়ে আসা পরিত্যক্ত পোশাকের ধরন, ছায়াভিত্তিক ঘাসের আকৃতি, বুক চিতিয়ে শুয়ে থাকা মাঠ, ঘাসের আকৃতি, বুক চিতিয়ে শুয়ে থাকা মাঠ, আলের উপর হাঁটতে হাঁটতে ধান খেতে পড়ে যাবার স্মৃতি, একদিন যাওয়া ফলের ঘ্রাণের মতো ফিরিয়ে দিতে পারো। যখন সাগর কম্পন দেখে বুঝে নিতাম মাছেদের হৃৎপিণ্ডের ধ্বনি, স্রোতের প্রবাহ দেখে মনে হতো ভেসে যাচ্ছে সম্রাট দারায়ুস কিংবা স্কাইলাস্কের অধিকৃত রাজত্বের ধ্বংসাবশেষ। আর যত্রতত্র অশ্বদৌড় দেখে মনে পড়তো সেই সকল কৃতদাস ব্যবস্থার প্রবর্তক, যাদের ওই সব দুরন্ত অশ্বের লেজে জুড়ে দিয়ে ঘোরানো হচ্ছে কাটাঝোপ বনবাদার তপ্ত মরুভূমি। একদিন আলো ছায়ার নক্ষত্রের মতো তুমিও তার ভালো মন্দ উঁচু নিচু শিখিয়ে নিতে পারো। যখন মাথার উপর সুস্নিগ্ধ মেঘের পরিচ্ছদ দেখে মনে হতো প্রাগ ঐতিহাসিক কুশলী রাজ কিংবা প্রাচীন গ্রীসীয় স্থাপত্য প্রেমিক কোন রাজরাজার মহান কীর্তির কথা, কিংবা মনে পড়ে যেত কাছে কাছে বিবিধ পূজন আর বর্ণালী ফলের আস্ফালন দেখে ইবনে বতুতার চোখে অপ্সরী ও গন্ধর্বের পরম সংসার, আর অলস সুখের এই পলিভূত সুশীল রাজ্যের মতো স্বর্গীয় মাতৃভূমির কথা। ভাবতে গেলে একদিন তুমি তার আকাশ তলা দেখে ফেলেছিলে, আজ আবার পুনরুদ্ধারিত গৌরবের মতো তারই কিছু গ্রহণ বর্জন সুখ স্মৃতি অনায়াসে তুলে ধরতে পারো, জানি। আমি আরেকটি কবিতা পাঠ, আরো দু তিনটি কবিতা পড়ছি। আমি আমার নির্জনতা শুয়ে আছে নামে একটি কাব্যগ্রন্থ, যেটি বেরিয়েছে 2020 সালে। কবিতার শিরোনাম ডানার ওপারে। এখন গভীর তিমিরে থাকি, অথবা তিমির গভীর বাঁকে। একদিন বাবার দেয়া নাম ধাম স্নেহ উপেক্ষা পরিত্যাগ করে এখন পংক্তিতে ঘুমাই, ডানা করতে হাঁটি, মুক্তকে বাঁচি। যখন লুইপা কাহ্নপাত চন্দ্রাবতী শরীরে বাঁচিয়ে রাখি, এখন ধান ক্ষেতের ভিতর দিয়ে হাঁটতে হাঁটতে পারি দেই মুঘল বাদশাহী পাল রাজার শেষ বংশধর। যখন হোমার প্রলুব্ধ হয়ে কখনো সাফো কখনো লাউৎস শেষে বাসকে জানিয়ে রেখেছি দীর্ঘ অবকাশ ভ্রমণের কথা, নোম্যান্স ল্যান্ডে দাঁড়িয়ে কিছু উলঙ্গ পংক্তি যারা এতকাল ধরে চিহ্নহীন প্রমত্ত সমুদ্রে কেটেছে, তারাও দেখি কষ্টের সন্ধানে একুলে ওকুলে ফিরে বিনীত প্রার্থনা করে। যখন অ্যাংলো স্যাক্সনে বসে হৃদয়ে বাল্মীকি ছোটে কালিদাস খুশি, যক্ষ প্রিয়াকে ডেকে কেউ বলে অমন বিরহ নাকি পৃথিবীতে ফেলে গেছে বর্ষণের গভীর নিয়তি, ভালোবাসি তাই বর্ষণের মধুর প্রকৃতি। প্রতি কথা বলতে বলতে আজও যখন কথার প্রতি পাখিরা গায়নি মেঘেরা ওড়েনি, তখন বালুকা বেলায় স্রোতের বিপরীতে দাঁড়িয়ে বলি আমাকে গ্রহণ করো প্রতিশ্রুত। যখন সিদ্ধার্থকে বলি বড় অসময়ে এই নির্বাণ আমি গ্রহণ করিনি, হঠাৎ ঘুম ভেঙে গেলে দীর্ঘ প্রান্তরে পায়রার উড়াউড়ি দেখে অঙ্গুলি তুলে বলেছিল কেউ তুমি ডানা মেলেছিলে সময়েরও আগে। ছায়া মেপে দেখো কত দূর বসে আছো তুমি ডানার ওপারে। আমি এই করোনা কালে শুরুর দিকে একটি কবিতা লিখেছিলাম, সেটি হচ্ছে ভাঙাটুল সিংহাসন ও স্ত্রী বিষয়। সে কবিতাটি করছি। এবার ঈদে তেমন কোনো আনন্দ নাই, তাই আমার স্ত্রী এবার বাংলা ফেলে চাইনিজ রাঁধছে আর একা একা রান্নাঘরের ভিতরে বসে কাঁদছে। এদিকে উনুনে গরম পানি, লেবুর রস, এক পেয়ালা মধু, আদার কুচি, লবণ জলের কড়কড়া আর ফুটন্ত পানির ভাব। তারা রান্নাঘরের সমস্ত চাইনিজ প্রকার উল্টে দিয়ে একরকম ধোয়ার সিংহাসন হয়ে দাঁড়িয়ে আছে। আমাকে দেখেই আমার কিংকর্তব্য বিমর স্ত্রী তার ভাঙা চুলটি দেখিয়ে প্রচন্ড ঝাঁঝালো কণ্ঠে বলল, এসব বদলাতে পারো না? বসতে গেলেই খালি কটমট করে, জামা ছেড়ে ওড়না ফাড়ে আর সারাক্ষণ কেবল পড়ে যাবার ভয়। আমি তাকে শান্ত হতে বলি যে আচ্ছা অন্তত আজকের দিনটা। আমার মুখের কথা কেড়ে নিয়ে আরো খানিক খেকিয়ে উঠে বলে, এসব গাজাগরি সংসার আমার ভাল লাগে না, বুঝছো? খালি নিজেরটা বুঝো, সারাক্ষণই খালি নিজেরটা বুঝো। এই তুমি না একদিন কইছিলা, শোনো, ভাঙা টুলার সিংহাসন চরিত্রে একই রকম হয়, সারাক্ষণই খালি পড়ে যাবার ভয়। এইবার বুঝছি তোমার চালাকি। তুমিও আমার একটু ধিক্কা ফালায়া হাত পা ভাঙতে চাও, আর সিংহাসনচ্যুত রাজার মতো দুনিয়ার হতভাগা আর একা বানাতে চাও। আর সেই চান্সে একা একা তুমি মনের মতো গাছে গাছে পোস্টার ছোলাবা জানি, আহা কি নিঃসঙ্গতা ও পরম একাকিত্ব, হে কবিতা। আমি আরেকটি কবিতা পড়বো, এটি সর্বশেষ কবিতা। এটি আমার এই বইটা আপনাদেরকে দেখাচ্ছি, পৃষ্ঠা জুড়ে সুলতানপুর। এটি আমার নেটিভ ভিলেজ, যেটা আমার একেবারে গ্রামের যে নাম সেটি হচ্ছে সুলতানপুর। এই সুলতানপুরকে নিয়েই আমার এই কবিতাটি, সমগ্র বইটি পৃষ্ঠা জুড়ে সুলতানপুর নামে বইটি প্রকাশিত হয়েছে, এবং সেখান থেকে একটি কবিতা বলছি। ফুল ফোটার কোনো স্বগতোক্তি নেই, বকুল ফুল কুড়িয়ে এনে মঙ্গলবারের অপেক্ষায় সোমবারের উঠোনে এসে দাঁড়াতাম। সোমবার ছিল আদরণীয়, আর মঙ্গলবার ঘিরে প্রচলিত ছিল নানা অমঙ্গলের কথা। শিশু মনে এই প্রথম অসামঞ্জস্য ঘটে যেতে দেখি। বিদ্যায়তনের পাঠ একদিন কৈশোরক আঙুল উঁচিয়ে বলে, সবার উপরে মানুষ। অথচ পৃষ্ঠার পর পৃষ্ঠা উল্টিয়ে দেখি মানুষের কোনো জীবনই তাতে নেই। পড়তে হয় সেন, পাল, মোগল বাদশাহের প্রসিদ্ধ জীবনী। পৃথিবীতে এত এত মানুষের কথা শুনি, অথচ সুলতানপুরে একজনও মানুষ মেলে না, একজনও সুলতান মেলে না। বুকের ভিতর বাদানুবাদ ঘটে যেতে দেখি। সুলতানপুরের থোকা থোকা হাড় চিরচিরে অনাহারি অর্ধাহারি মানুষের মুখ দেখে ভাবি, বৈপরীত্য লেখা থাকে যেখানে সখ্যাত নামে। বাগানে ফুল ফোটার কোনো স্বগতোক্তি নেই, অথচ ছড়ে পড়ার আছে গরুর মর্মধ্বনি। ধন্যবাদ। থ্যাংক ইউ সো মাচ।
Thank you so much, Obaid Akashji. Beautiful renditions. May I now have the pleasure of inviting Bodhayan Mukherjee to kindly make a few comments on the poetry of Obaid Akashji, who has so kindly joined us from Bangladesh.
Thank you so much. Obaid, I must tell you, is one of the leading poets in Bangladesh. And as you had seen in his chapbook, he had written 43 books, out of which 23 are poetry books.
25.
And of course, he's a journalist. And the range of his poetry is very wide. And it gives us a great pleasure when we hear Bangladeshi poets reading to us. সুলতানপুর যে গ্রাম সম্বন্ধে উনি লিখেছেন, ওনার গ্রাম সম্বন্ধে, সেখানে উনি ওনার গ্রামের যেই শব্দগুলো ব্যবহার করেছেন সেগুলো বাংলাদেশি শব্দ অনেক তার মধ্যে রয়েছে, বাঙ্গাল শব্দ আমরা যেটা বলি। আর দেখুন প্রকৃতির কবিতাটা কি সুন্দর, প্রথম এই লাইনগুলো কতগুলো কি সুন্দর লাইন লিখেছেন। বুক চিতিয়ে শুয়ে থাকা মাঠ, the field is lying down as if with open chests. এরকম সুন্দর সুন্দর পংক্তি ওনার কবিতার মধ্যে প্রায়শই দেখা যাচ্ছে, যে খুব উচ্চ স্তরের তার জন্য আমরা খুবই খুশি হয়েছি যে সৃজনে উনি আজকে যোগদান করেছেন। আমি সৃজনের পক্ষ থেকে ওনাকে কৃতজ্ঞতা জানাচ্ছি। আবার আসবেন আমাদের সঙ্গে। আমরা খুবই খুশি হয়েছি আপনার কবিতা শুনে। আশা করি সবাই খুব খুব আপনাকে দোয়া জানাচ্ছি। হ্যাঁ, নমস্কার।
Thank you so much, Bodhayan Mukherjee, for your valuable comments. And now may I have the pleasure of inviting Laksmisree Banerjee to read her poetry. Laksmisree Banerjee is an acclaimed poet, academic, critic, and a musician. She is a university professor of English and Cultural Studies. She is passionately involved with gender equality, women empowerment, and education. She's also widely anthologized and has 10 publications to her credit, as also countless research publications and academic books. We are very happy to have her here today. She is based in Jamshedpur, and Srijan is particularly obliged to her for her participation in our events despite her university engagements. So over to you, Laksmisree Banerjee.
After a long time, I'm back. Not back, I was always with Srijan, but well, I've come here for a poetry reading, and I'm very grateful to Srijan, to Basant, to all of you. And it's a great thing to hear Sanjukta talking about Kazi Nazrul and the interactivity, the mutual reverence between Tagore and Nazrul. But I would like to state one thing, that despite the fact, because those of us who sing Nazrul and Rabindranath and all, and also write poetry and read their poetry, they do belong to very two different genres, definitely. But there is a very extraordinary, uncanny, I would say, uncanny coalescence.
Your voice is breaking off, Laksmisree.
We can hear you, but your internet connection may be quite poor all of a sudden. So maybe could you move to a different corner of the room or the house? Sometimes the internet connection improves if you.
Then we can move on to another poet, and we'll come back to Laksmisree afterwards. So we can go on to Achyuta Bhattacharya. And it gives me immense pleasure to invite you to make your reading. The chapbook has a detailed bio of Shri Bhattacharya, and I'd like to just say a few words. Achyuta Bhattacharya will be reading in Bengali. He was brought up in Balurghat, and he completed his postgraduate studies in chemistry from North Bengal University, Siliguri. And he has been much influenced by the riverine beauty of the Atrey, as well as the greenery and the beauteous foothills of the Himalayas. He now lives in Calcutta and writes very insightful poetry and is widely published. So over to you, Achyuta Bhattacharya. We look forward to listening to your poetry.
Good evening. Firstly, I should convey my gratitude to Srijan Poetry Adda. It's a fantastic platform, what I am observing from a long time. And today also, things are going very well. Very informative speech we got. Rather, we can hear very beautiful poetries. But now I will read some Bengali poetry. Firstly, বাল্মীকি। এই কবিতাটা আমার একেবারে ছোটবেলায় লেখা কবিতা। 20-22 বছর বয়সে। এই কবিতাটা আমার ট্রিবিউট টু নজরুল হিসেবে দেখা যেতে পারে। এই জন্যই এই কবিতাটা আজকে প্রথমেই পড়ছি আর কি, যেহেতু নজরুল, কাজী নজরুল ইসলাম আমার একজন প্রিয় কবি এবং তার সম্বন্ধে আমরা এখানে দীর্ঘ আলোচনা শুনেছি। আমি কবিতাটা পড়ি। বাল্মীকি। কেউ জানে কোন বাল্মীকি আজ সাধনমগ্ন তার অন্তরে, অরণ্যে কোন গাছের মতো উঠছে বেড়ে সুর বাহারে, মৃত্যু নাকি অনাঘ্রাত নারীর কাছে আত্মহনন, নাকি সেসব মুখের কথা বধিরতার নামান্তকর? সূর্য নাকি পরম্পরা, কার উপরে বেশি দখল, এসব নিয়ে খণ্ডযুদ্ধ লণ্ডভণ্ড পাপের মতো। জঙ্গলে রোজ ঠিক চলে সব, চলছে হাওয়ায় পত্র পতন, বর্ষা নাকি বর্ষা বিঁধে ওদের সবুজ পাতার ক্ষরণ। রক্ত ঝরা সোজা কথায়, মৃত্যু অসীম বিপ্রতীপে, বাল্মীকি তাই সব সাধনে উঠছে বেড়ে গাছের মতো। Then I will read another poetry, another poem. We have just passed 25th of May. 25th of May, বাঙালির মানে বাংলার ইতিহাসে একটা ঘটনা। 25শে মেই নকশালবাড়িতে একটা আন্দোলন শুরু হয়েছিল এবং সেটাই সেই আন্দোলনকে বন্ধও করে দেওয়া হয়েছিল, হয়তো মানুষের ভালোর জন্য। ঠিক আছে, তার ব্যর্থতা আমরা মেনে নিয়েছি। তো সেই 25শে মে সম্বন্ধে একটি কবিতা। 25 মের কবিতা। একদিন নদী তার নিজের গভীর কোনো গানে মেলে দিতে চেয়েছিল শানিত অস্ত্রের মতো আশা। সময় আদিম স্রোতে সহস্রের গান আজও আনে। যদি কোনোদিন ভালোবাসি, তোমাকে বাঁচতে চাই আশা। প্রাত্যহিক আসা যাওয়া, অন্তহীন তারাদের গতি, অফুরান পাল্টে যাওয়া আন্দোলিত সকাল বিকাল, এত দিন যাপনের আকস্মিক অনেকাংশ ক্ষতি, কত পার খুঁজে যাওয়া, সাঁতরে ওঠা, ছিঁড়ে ফেলা জাল। এই রাত কেটে যাবে নিয়মের মতো, এই রাত গম্ভীর অসীম তত্ত্বে মুছে যাবে পুরনো বিজ্ঞান। প্লাবনে উঠবে ফুলে বুঝে যাওয়া অন্ধ নদী খাত। প্রবল ও তীব্র স্বরে গেয়ে উঠি বিপ্লবের গান। এরপরে ছোট ছোট দুটো কবিতা শোনাবো। কর্মসূত্রে কিছুদিন চট্টগ্রামে থাকতে হয়েছিল আমাকে, তো বছর দুয়েক। সেখানকার পরিবেশ, সেখানকার মানুষজন, সেখানকার একটা অদ্ভুত একটা ভাষা ব্যবহার, শব্দ ব্যবহার, এগুলো আমায় খুব দোলা দিয়েছিল। তো আমি ওখানে থাকার পরে কিছুদিন পরে আমার মনে হলো যে এই অনুভূতিটাকে আমার ধরা দরকার। কিন্তু যে বিশিষ্ট ভাষা ওখানে ব্যবহৃত হয়, সেই ভাষাকে আয়ত্ত করার মতো সময় আমি ওখানে থাকতে পারিনি। সুতরাং আমাকে একটা মিশ্র ভাষাতেই তাকে ব্যবহার করতে হলো। এবং আমি একটা বই আমি ওখানে প্রকাশিত হলো, তার নাম হচ্ছে চট্টলা গীতিকা। চট্টলা গীতিকা, চট্টগ্রামের উপরেই লেখা কবিতা। আমি ছোট ছোট দুটো কবিতা পড়ছি, এর ভাষাটা একটু লক্ষ্য করা যায়। এক, হৃদয়ে রাখিব তোমা আহ্লাদ করিয়া, দুঃখী ও কাঙাল হইয়ে এই মোর আশা। তোমার লাগিয়া কান্দি জলে দেহ হৃদি, কোন হৃদে পরবাসী, কোন হৃদে বাসা। সুন্দরী তোমার রূপে জগত সংসার, কুলহীন ভাসিয়াছে নাহি অন্ত দিশা। দিশা কি দেখাবা বলো, চারিদিকে পানি, এ ভবসাগর মিথ্যা, অহর্নিশি নিশা। কাল হাসে, কাল খেলে, কাল হৃষ্ট হয়, কাল করে ছিন্ন মূল নাড়াটি ধরিয়া। কালের হাউস পুরে নিত্য নিত নিত, কালের গর্ভেই জীব বাঁচিয়া মরিয়া। গুরুর বচনে জানি সর্বধর্ম ত্যাগে, হৃদয়ে পাইব তোমা একথা নিশ্চয়। সুন্দরী তোমার সেই নিত্যানন্দ পদে, সপিবে বিনম্র কবি সর্প জ্বালা ভয়। এরপরে একটা কবিতা। কোথায় পাইছো ওই আঁখি সখী, কোথায় শিখিছ দিতি জ্বালা, যে অনল লাগায়েছো অন্দরে বাহিরে, এই তাপে আমারে দগ্ধালা। জ্বালা যদি দিলা সই, আর ফাঁকি দিও না, দিও না, সহিব সকল কিছু লোকলাজ, দিন অশ্রু নিও না, নিও না। কান্নার নির্ভীত জলে বিরহীর ব্যথা বাজে প্রাণে, সংকেত দিয়াছ বধূ, বুঝি নাই, বুঝি নাই ও প্রেমের মানে। আমার একটা শেষ কবিতা, এটা চট্টলা গীতিকার শেষ কবিতা। সুন্দরী, আমার লগে খেলা আজ শেষ হয় নাই, পরন্ত দিনের রোদ যেমন মায়ায় ঢাকে সর্বনিঃস্ব খেলা, উজানিতে অনেক আলোর ঝলকানি, ক্যান টানে দূর স্রোতে মিশে যাওয়া স্মৃতির শৈবাল, ঘুরে মরে চারপাশে লোলুপ কামনা, ব্যথার অসার টানে। দিলে না কিছুই সখী, শুধু ডুবে যাওয়া চলমানে দিন যাপনের মাঝখানে, তৃষ্ণা উঠি আসে কণ্ঠের নিকট, তবু ছোটা, শুধু ছোটা, ক্লান্ত হতি হতি শুধু ভুলে যাওয়া তোমার শ্রীমুখ। বেলা শেষ, খেলা শেষ, হয় না কেন যে। ধন্যবাদ, সবাইকে ধন্যবাদ।
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for such beautiful and sensitive compositions. And may I now invite Jamalji to make a few comments on the poems just read. Jamalji, are you there?
Yeah, he is here.
Yes. He's there, but he may have just left his computer and gone off. So in that case, may I once more invite Bodhayan Mukherjee to make a few comments on the poems read.
Thank you, Anna. I must say that Achyuta is a very powerful poet. I have read him extensively, and his background had been, his early adolescence had been lived in Balurghat, and where the Atrey River flows through that city. And then he went to North Bengal to learn chemistry, and he came back to Calcutta. And this his wide-ranging experiences of flora and fauna and the people also has given him beautiful narratives that he has written about. And I'm very pleased to hear his and about Chottolagiti. I also have this book, and I really enjoyed reading it. As I was saying about Obaid's poetry, the use of the local dialects in poetry, that we can get seldom when poets like Achyuta goes to Chattogram and lives there for 2 years, 3 years, and decides that he should write in the language that he is listening. And then and the back cover of it, you see, it says, তোমার মৃত্তিকা থাক আমার কপালে, অর্থাৎ let your soil be pasted on my forehead. So that is a tribute to Chattogram itself. And a poet does it all the time. Wherever he lives, wherever he goes, he spreads the message of love and all these things. And of course, that is all I can say about him. And I'm very thankful that Achyut has joined us. He has liked our Srijan, and I wish that he comes and joins in our future Addas on the last Saturdays of every month. Thank you, Achyut, for being with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bodhayan Mukherjee, for your valuable comments.
Thank you so much.
Thank you indeed. And now may I have the pleasure and privilege of inviting Sanjukta Dasgupta to read her poetry. Sanjukta Dasgupta has just given us a wonderful tribute to Kavi Nazrul Islam, and she needs no introduction at all, but I'll just follow the pattern that is being. So I'll just say a few lines about Sanjukta ma'am. She is poet, critic, translator, and littérateur par excellence. She is professor and former head of the Department of English and former dean, Faculty of Arts, Calcutta University. She has more than 20 published books on seminal subjects ranging from Huxley and Hemingway, Indian family in transition, gender and popular culture in India, and various aspects of Tagore. She's also written collections of essays, short stories, and translations, and she has 7 published books on poetry. She is the recipient of many awards, and she has been described as a pillar of strength of Srijan throughout its 22 years of existence. But personally, I must admit, I am a great fan of Sanjukta ma'am. So ma'am, over to you. Listening, we're all waiting to listen to your poetry. Thank you, Anna, and thank you, Vasant. And I'll share a few of my poems. And since Obad had already referred to COVID, which I thought I wouldn't, but since you, Obad, COVID-এর উপর একটা poem পড়েছেন, so I would like to start with a poem that I wrote during those horrendous times, and it is titled Coffin Factory, because that's the news we were getting at that time in the New York Times and the Guardian. And so this is the poem. Coffin Factory. Death has been insatiable this year. Such greed for more and more. Crematoriums and cemeteries, chock-a-block with processions of the inert who arrive on stretchers for the final journey through the exit gate. Death is a greedy capitalist this year. Coffin factories have never thrived so much, the demand far exceeding supply. We need to produce more coffins, thundered ministers and governments as they wheeled past the tanks and fighter jets. We need vaccines to reduce coffin home deliveries, rose the cries in the parliaments. This festive season, as drums and conch shells create the auspicious buzz, this festive season, as Christmas trees sparkle, sighs from the thousands and thousands of coffins will haunt the midnight mass. If only you had made vaccines instead of tanks and guns, is the one spiraling refrain that will haunt the night's sleep. It will haunt the school kid who stared at a screen for more than a year, a travesty, a pretend school, so dreadfully unfair. Thank you. So that's the first poem. Should I read another?
Yes, one more. Yes, of course.
Okay, one more. Okay. This is titled Fear. Fear is the silent stalker that follows me everywhere. All the time, anytime, it leers and lurks in the merciless maze of the eyeless mind. Fear seals my lips. Fear gags my mouth. Fear throttles me. Fear chokes my words. Fear forces my eyes shut. Fear makes me pretend I haven't heard anything. I haven't seen anything. I haven't felt anything. Fear has made me senseless like a rotten log on a patch of rain-drenched grass. Fear has slashed off my tongue. Fear just makes me moan and groan. Inarticulate, muffled whimpers, spine-chilling, uncanny whispers. Fear shrivels and shrinks me every day. Fear has bent my backbone. Fear has bent my head. Fear makes my nerves tingle. Fear makes my blood go cold. Dwarfed and devastated by fear, I join the ghastly processions of terrified robots. Like a menacing monarch, fear smiles and sneers as it twiddles and turns the remote control in its scaly jaws. I tremble and cringe in fear, and yet I am trying to stand up.
Oh my God.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Those were absolutely spellbinding.
I mean,
And I
she
really
has
don't
read
know.
Annapurna after a long time. Sanjukta is here. Please, her last poem, if she could read whatever the last poem she has
One
written.
more.
But the last
Yes,
poem,
this
the
is a
very last
request,
poem.
Sanjukta ma'am. Your most recent composition,
Okay,
perhaps.
it's not in this book. This is the 7th book, you know, Unbound, which takes together all my 25 years of poetry together and stuff. And
Right.
and in Vasant's in-person meet, I had read a poem called Sita's Sisters.
Oh, I've
Vasant
heard that.
might read.
Beautiful.
Now I have written a new one, and I wanted to share this with all of you. It's called Millennial Sita. So the Sita of the 21st century. Yes. So
Yes.
just reading that, with which I'll conclude. Millennial Sita. Sita wanted to fly to Dubai. Sita wanted to gamble in Las Vegas. Sita wanted to spend nights in Paris. Sita wanted a bungalow in Lutyens, Delhi. Sita was an engaged, desiring subject. When dreams and desires were deleted, Sita trailed behind the commander-in-chief. Sita cooked meals for brothers and others. Sita loved mutton biryani and murg masalam. The brothers and others loved paneer and sambar. The brothers and others munched every leaf and fruit, ate everything that grew on trees and under the ground. Sita dreamt, salivated, fantasized. Alas, the elusive, tantalizing mutton biryani and murg masalam behaved as incorrigibly as the elusive golden deer. Sita was not in chains. Sita was not encaged. Sita was bound within invisible borders, barricades, speed breakers, lines of control, more dense than lines in graph sheets. Sita was confused. The books she read were freedom songs. The life she led was rigorous imprisonment lifelong. Millennial Sita's degrees surrendered to the decrees of others. Others, mothers, fathers, brothers were everywhere. Everywhere in Dubai, Las Vegas, Paris, New York, Beverly Hills, Malabar Hills. Others, mothers, fathers, brothers, aunts, uncles, wagged their fingers from their despotic towers. Millennial Sita did not dive into the maternal arms of the ravaged planet Earth. Millennial Sita zipped up the spacesuit and left for the planet Mars. Thank you.
What? Thank you so much, Sanjukta ma'am. What a wonderful way to end that poem. And there's a Sita lurking in all of us. And I really wish I could zoom off to a Mars myself. Thank you so much. And, you know, like, I don't know which to admire more, the compositions or the renditions, both of which were absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you
And
so
I can't quite get over how you called death a greedy capitalist. I don't think that could have been put in any better way. All three of the poems were outstanding. Thank you once again, ma'am.
Thank
Such a
you
pleasure
so
listening to
much.
you. And may I now invite Anjana Basu to make a few comments?
No, I was saying I was very happy to have heard Sanjukta Ji read, because I requested her to do both the tribute and the reading. And she was like, "Do you really want me to?" I said, "Yes, I want you to."
Yes.
And I'm very
Thank you,
happy
Anjana.
that she did. And her Sita poems are going from strength to strength, so more power to her pen. So I'm glad to have been here now.
Okay, thank you so much, Anjana ma'am. And may I now have the pleasure of inviting Kalpana Jha to read her poems. Kalpana Jha is an alumna of Presidency College, and she knows English, Hindi, Bengali, as also Bhojpuri and Maithili. She took up translation as a profession. Her passion, of course, is acting. She writes mostly in Hindi, and she is a very sensitive poet who has won many awards. And there is more on Kalpana Jha in our chapbook. So over to you now. We're all eagerly waiting to hear you.
Thank you so much, Annapurna ji. First of all, let me congratulate you for a wonderful comparing. You're just amazing. And Vasant ji, thank you so much for having me in this beautiful poetry Adda, studied with powerful poetries and talented people. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद प्रियंकर जी का भी, जिन्होंने मुझे इस शाम से जोड़ा, इतने ज़हीन लोगों से जोड़ा, और आज मेरे परिचय का दायरा भी बढ़ा है और मैं आप सबों से मिलकर, आप सबको सुनकर बहुत समृद्ध भी महसूस कर रही हूँ खुद को। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सभी दर्शकों का भी जो जुड़े हुए हैं यहाँ पर, और संजुक्ता जी को बहुत आभार कि उन्होंने एक मतलब काजी नजरुल इस्लाम जी के ऊपर जो उन्होंने वक्तव्य रखा शोध परक, कई नई खिड़कियां खोली और हमें बहुत सारी बातें जो नहीं मालूम थी वो कपाट आपने खोले और बहुत ही शोध परक और प्रभावशाली तरीके से आपने अपनी बातें रखी। और साथ ही आपने अभी अभी जो कविताएं सुनाई हैं वो इतनी प्रभावशाली है कि उसके असर को बहुत देर तक महसूस किया जा सकता है, और जब बहुत अच्छा कोई पढ़ दे उसके बाद कुछ पढ़ना काफी चैलेंजिंग होता है। फिर मैं अपनी तरफ से कोशिश करूंगी कि थैंक यू सो मच। मैं कला के ऐसे माध्यम से जुड़ी हुई हूँ जिसमें मंच और दर्शकों के बीच सांसों का आना जाना होता रहता है, सांसें टकराती हैं, और ये एक ऐसा माध्यम है जहाँ हमें इंटरनेट के भरोसे रहना पड़ता है और कभी कभी वही हमें दगा दे जाती है। पहले कहते थे कि ओम गणेशाय नमः, अब मैं ओम इंटरनेट आय नमः, ओम कनेक्शन आय नमः कह के अपनी कविताएं करती हूँ। उम्मीद करती हूँ कि आपको पूरी कविताएं सुनाई दें। सबसे पहली कविता है पराजित पिता। नाटक खत्म हो चुका है और मंच पर उस नाटक का एकमात्र पात्र खड़ा है। दर्शक ताली नहीं बजा रहे, हंस रहे हैं उस पर, लानत भेज रहे हैं। आंखों के इशारे से, उंगलियों के निशाने से उसकी इज्जत की बोटी बोटी नोच रहे हैं। खड़ा है वो सब देखते सुनते हुए, भागता नहीं कहीं, डटा रहता है। वह एक पराजित पिता है। पड़ोस में गुड्डे गुड़ियों के ब्याह की रौनक है, अपने घर फाका कशी है। उसे कमरे के चारों तरफ कमीज की फटी हुई जेबें लटकती दिखती हैं, खाली संदूक उड़ते हैं हवा में, अनगिनत दरवाजे दिखते हैं बाहर निकलने को, मगर सब बंद। दिखती है संतानें जो उम्र से पहले बुढ़ा जाएंगी। उसे बहुत सी आंखों के नीचे काले घेरे दिखते हैं, सूखे होठों की पपड़ियां चुभती हैं। रसोई में डब्बे भड़भड़ा कर गिरते हैं, उनका खालीपन धक से सीने में धंस जाता है। बच्चे फिर भी भागते हैं उस ओर कि कहीं किसी डब्बे से कुछ दाने निकल आए तो उसीन लिया जाए। कोई भरा डब्बा छूट गया हो कहीं। उसे कलाई में एक चूड़ी डाले एक औरत दिखती है, पूरी आस्था से बृहस्पतिवार व्रत कथा कहती हुई कि गुरु भगवान सुंदर थाल में पीला भोजन लेकर आएंगे तो बच्चे अपना जन्मदिन मनाएंगे। वह सिर्फ आंख और कान बन जाता है। पराजित पिता धीरे धीरे काठ हो जाता है। पराजित पिता धीरे धीरे काठ हो जाता है।
बहुत सुंदर, बहुत सुंदर। आपकी बहुत सारी कविताएं मैंने पढ़ी, इसमें ये कविता पहले पढ़ी थी तो एकदम पागल हो गया था। बहुत सुंदर, बहुत सुंदर।
धन्यवाद वरुण जी। अगली एक छोटी सी कविता है, औरतें। औरतें, चीखना चाहती है वह, चीखना चाहती है वह, इतनी जोर से कि अनंत प्रकाश वर्षों के पार उसकी पीड़ा विचलन पैदा कर दे। पौराणिक चरित्रों के मुंह नोच कर उनके मुखौटे अपने घरों की दीवारों पर टांग देना चाहती है। सदियों से लांछित नियत का रोष निकालना चाहती है। पंडों और दलालों के चंगुल में फंसे ईश्वर की चमकती मूर्तियों पर कालिख पोतकर, विकृत शब्दों में जड़े पंगु नियमों की धज्जियां उड़ाकर चिपका देना चाहती है आसमान की सलेट पर। बवंडर लाना चाहती है, प्रलय बरसाना चाहती है, लील जाना चाहती है कुरूपताओं को, और अंततः आदतन चुप हो जाती है। अंततः आदतन चुप हो जाती है, एक लंबे मौन पर चली जाती है, जैसे लोग लंबी यात्राओं पर जाते हैं। एक लंबे मौन पर चली जाती है। धन्यवाद।
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kalpana ji. Those were beautiful, beautiful compositions and very well rendered. May I invite Priyanka ji?
कल्पना ऐसी कवयित्री हैं जो साहित्य, सिनेमा और रंगमंच तीनों तरफ जो है अपनी दृष्टि बनाए हुए हैं, और उनके पाठ में भी उनके रंगमंच का जो भाव है वो झलक रहा था। संस्कृत के बड़े आचार्य हुए हैं राजशेखर, जो बड़े कवि थे और बड़े काव्य शास्त्री थे। वो एक बात कहते थे, वो कहते थे कविता लिख तो कोई भी सकता है, लेकिन कविता का अच्छा पाठ वही कर सकता है जिस पर सरस्वती मेहरबान हो। तो मुझे लगता है कल्पना पर सरस्वती मेहरबान है। शुक्रिया।
Thank you so much, Priyanka ji. And now may I have the pleasure of inviting Sridarshini Chakraborty to read her poetry. So a few words about Sridarshini Chakraborty. She was born and brought up in Calcutta and comes from an illustrious musical family. Her father is the maestro Pandit Manas Chakraborty, who inspired her to study economics. He also introduced her to poetry, literature, and various philosophies. She too is widely published, and though she writes predominantly in Bengali, she also writes in Hindi and Urdu. So over to you, Sridarshini.
So first of all, good evening to everybody, and it's been a beautiful evening for all of us. And I will thank Jamalda and also Bodhanda for connecting me to all of you people, and also thanks to Vasanji. So, and I was actually really moved by Sanjukta Di's the opening remarks he made on Nazrul. And also, actually, I actually wanted to share a little bit before I started reading my poems, that I actually was initiated to know Nazrul by his songs, because I am a student and also I'm a singer of Hindustani classical music. So, and the first time I learned a song by Nazrul, which was Srijan Chande. That is a Bhanga Gan. That's called Bhanga Gan because that comes from bandishes from Hindustani classical music. So I was initiated to his writing, and also the capability of his compositions were massive. He was like, the compositions he made in various ragas, like he made compositions in Pilu, Bhairavi, he made compositions in various Malhars, and also they were actually very, very engrossing. I was when I started learning a few, I wanted to learn them all actually. And also the thing is, when you start reading them, you feel that there are a lot of connections, there are a lot of things which were actually from Hindu mythologies, and a lot of he composed a lot of Shyama Sangeet, and also he composed a lot of Bhatiyali. I think he was the icon of the spirit of India actually. So that's why it really hurts me that at the last of his age he left India.
He did not leave actually, Sudarshan. He was
no.
taken away.
Yeah, I know.
He did
I know
not
that.
leave.
I know that, but saying that would be a little. So I didn't do that. So maybe, but I'm very, very close to his compositions, which are like very, very rich, like also, and there are a lot of nuances which come from Hindustani classical music, and he knew Hindustani classical music so well that he could compose those songs which sounded like bandishes, actual bandishes. So that was the main thing. And then when I grew up, I read a lot of poems, and they were so powerful. And always I thought he was a poet who was very much alive all the time, and all his moments of creation were so much alive that a lot of energy was always there. A lot of energy transcends to other people, inspired us all. So we should keep on reading him, listening to his songs. And Sanjukta Di was brilliant. She touched all the aspects, and also her poems were brilliant. I really loved the last one a lot. So let me read I'll read one or two poems, because there are a lot of people who are waiting also to read maybe. So okay, the first one I would read, it's called The Old Man and the Sea. It's a Bengali poem, but the name is The Old Man and the Sea, which is actually inspired by the short story. So, ভাঙা জাহাজের দিকে ইদানিং চেয়ে বসে থাকো, বহুক্ষণ বহুদণ্ড কল, বসে থাকো বসে থাকো, বসে বসে থাকো দেখি ইদানিং দীর্ঘ তাকিয়ে, ভাঙা তবু দীর্ঘদেহী জাহাজের মাস্তুলে ছোট বাসা, পাখি বাঁধে পাখি আসে যায়, বাসা বাড়ে কুটো জোড়ে, হাওয়া দিলে কুটো উড়ে যায়, ভাঙা জাহাজের দিকে ইদানিং দীর্ঘ তাকিয়ে, বসে বসে তুমি দেখি থাকো, কুটো ওড়ে ঝরে পড়ে, পাখি ফের কুটো মুখে আসে, বাহবা বিস্তৃত চোখে তরঙ্গ ওঠে না আর, ভাঙা জাহাজের দিন সমুদ্র বিমুখ থাকে, তুমি ইদানিং চেয়ে দেখি বসে আছো পাখি মনা দীর্ঘ তাকিয়ে। এই কবিতাটার নাম জাতিস্বর। অমলেট হয়ে যাওয়া ডিমের খোলার মতো তোমার প্রেমের থেকে কুসুমের মাস চলে গেছে, ভাঙা ফাঁপা দেহ নিয়ে তুমি তার শ্মশান বন্ধু, বসে আছো ফ্রিজারের দোরে, স্মৃতিদাহ সারা হয়নি বলে, টিভি স্ক্রিনে ভেসে উঠছে উট আর বালির শহর। টেলিপ্যাথি কাকে বলে এবারে তুমি শিখতে চাইছো, ভাবছো এও কোনো পূর্বজন্মের কথা, যা থাকলেও গুপ্তধন নেই। অথচ জাতিস্বর বলে যে এত মাইলেজ পেয়ে গেল, তার কত ভগ্নস্তূপ দেখো। এক জন্ম পেরিয়ে এসেও সে কিছুই ভুলতে পারেনি।
Another poem, Sudarshini?
Yeah, just one more, I guess.
Yes.
And this is called Sadharon May. This is actually on our goddess Durga, who comes to us every year. So it's called Sadharon May. চতুর্দিকে ধুম ধড়াক্কা, মুন্নির বদনাম হওয়া সাঁঝ, অকাল বোধন শেষে ফিরে যাবে প্রতিমা মন্তাজ। মদ্য মাংস ঘৃত দধি মধু ও রজত সঙ্গে ধান, সাজিয়ে বসেছে কেউ, কেউ পেল শারদ সম্মান। বদলায়নি তাতে কিছু, টানা চোখ মেয়েটির কপাল, ঘোড়া হলে আড়াই আর গজ হলে কোনাকুনি চাল। চৌকোনা ঘরের মধ্যে 4টে দিন সংসারে ফোকাস, সাজাবো যতনে আর একা একা ফুটে থাকবে কাশ। তার জন্য ভাষা নেই অথবা সে সাধারণ শাড়ি, মাথার উপরে স্নেহ পিতৃসম ছবি বা পাহাড়ি। লক্ষ নারায়ণী চোখ ড্যাব ড্যাবে বিধে যাচ্ছে বুকে, লালিত্য পটুয়া যেন ছাঁচে ঢেলে দিয়ে গেছে মুখে। এই নিয়ে জল্পনা জোর, অল্প কথা থিম আগাগোড়া, উপাসনা চলে গেছে, রয়ে গেছে পুজোর মহড়া। সবশেষে ধাক্কায় তাকে গঙ্গায় ভাসাবে পরিজনে, আসছে বছরে ফের দেখা হবে অকাল বোধনে। থ্যাংক ইউ।
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Sudarshini, for such beautiful poems. And may I once again call upon Bodha and Mukherjee to make a few observations and comments.
Thank you so much. She comes from a great musical family, and she has become a poet too. And now she has found a poem that is, she has adopted it from The Old Man and the Sea. And such beautiful lines that she has written, ভাঙা জাহাজের কাছে বসে থাকো, কুড়ো উড়ে যায় সমুদ্রের দিকে চেয়ে থাকো ইত্যাদি। এই ইমেজটা যে এসছে ওল্ড ম্যান অ্যান্ড দ্য সি থেকে, তো আমার আবার মনে পড়ে গেল ওল্ড ম্যান অ্যান্ড দ্য সি। একজন কবি কিভাবে একটা উপন্যাসকে এত ছোট একটা small perimeter she has used in order to bring home the Old Man and the Sea. এছাড়াও অন্যান্য যেসব কবিতাগুলো পড়লো আজকে, জাতিস্বর কবিতাটা খুবই সুন্দর হয়েছে। সে এই রাগ সম্বন্ধে যেগুলো বললো, নজরুলের কবিতার সম্বন্ধে, এগুলো আমাদের কাছে এগুলো আমাদের মনে থাকবে। ওকে ধন্যবাদ জানাবার আমার কোনো ভাষা নেই। ও আবার আসুক আমাদের সঙ্গে। আমরা খুব খুশি হয়েছি, তোমাকে ধন্যবাদ জানাচ্ছি।
Thank you, Bodhainji, for your valuable comments. And all right, so as I just said, it's rather unfortunate that two of our poets, Laksmisree Banerjee and Majid Deobandi, could not join us today. But we are very fortunate to have heard many other poets reading their poetry, and of course, Sanjukta Di's brilliant tribute to Kazi Nazrul Islam. And with this, we come to the end of the second session of our event today. Thank you so much, everyone.
Lovely. What a brilliant way to end it, Annapurna. I would request Priyankar to come in. He has been the soul behind our Hindi poetry for a number of years now. And Priyankar is Srijan, has lived Srijan. Who better than him to thank everyone for whatever they have done today? Priyankar ji, please.
It's a privilege to extend vote of thanks to all the poets, especially the tribute giver of this evening, Sanjukta ji. who has given a wonderful tribute. On behalf of Srijan, I extend my hearty vote of thanks to Anjana Di, and I immensely thankful to all the poets who recited their poems. Sanjukta ji, Shri Achyut Bhattacharya, Shri Darshini Chakravarti, and our guest poet from Bangladesh, Obaid Akash. Thank you. Thank you for your wonderful poems. We are fortunate that our president, Umadi, she is present with us all together, our vice president, Krishnadi, and I thank them for their able guidance and their encouragement. हिंदी के वरिष्ठ कवि लीलाधर जगूड़ी, जिन्होंने बहुत अच्छी कविताएं पढ़ी, मैं उनके प्रति भी आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। और कल्पना नई कवियत्री हैं, लेकिन बहुत अच्छी कविताएं, बहुत अच्छा पाठ उन्होंने किया, उनके प्रति भी आभार। And evening like this can't be held together without a good anchor. And I thank Dr. Annapurna Palit for doing this job wonderfully. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And I thank all the fellow conveners, Ananya Di, Jamalda, Anjana ji, Bodhayanda, Devashish, Jarina, and Pavanda. उर्दू के कवि इस बार नहीं आ सके या काव्य पाठ नहीं कर सके। हम लोग चाहेंगे कि आगे वो आए और कविता पाठ करें। और जब से मैं हिंदी का कन्वीनर बना हूं, तब से बसंता ने मेरी कविताएं पढ़ना बंद करवा दिया है। तो मैं एक कविता है मेरी थैंक्स गिविंग की, मैं उसके साथ में अपना वोट ऑफ थैंक्स कंक्लूड करना चाहूंगा। और इस कविता का शीर्षक है कृतज्ञ हूं मैं भी। ग्रेटफुल आई एम। कृतज्ञ हूं मैं भी, जैसे आसमान की कृतज्ञ है पृथ्वी, जैसे पृथ्वी का कृतज्ञ है किसान। कृतज्ञ हूं मैं भी, जैसे सागर का कृतज्ञ है बादल, जैसे नए जीवन के लिए बादल का आभारी है नन्हा बीज। कृतज्ञ हूं मैं भी, जिस तरह कृतज्ञ होता है अपने में डूबा ध्रुपदिया 7 सुरों के प्रति। जैसे 7 सुर कृतज्ञ हैं 7,000 वर्षों की काल यात्रा के। कृतज्ञ हूं मैं भी, जैसे सभ्यताएं कृतज्ञ हैं नदी के प्रति। कृतज्ञ हूं मैं भी, जैसे सभ्यताएं कृतज्ञ हैं नदी के प्रति, जैसे मनुष्य कृतज्ञ है अपनी उस रचना के प्रति जिसे उसने ईश्वर नाम दिया है। धन्यवाद। थैंक्स टू ऑल।
बहुत 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 सुंदर। इस कविता के बाद तो कुछ कहने की हिम्मत नहीं है, क्योंकि इतनी सुंदर है। इस भावनाओं, इन भावनाओं को अगर हम अपने इस कृतज्ञता को अगर शाश्वत बना सके, if we could have made this feeling of being obliged, you know, to be permanent, how beautiful humanity would become.
Yes, true, absolutely true.
So and कृतज्ञ हूँ मैं भी कि प्रियंकर जैसे प्रिय कवि हमारे बीच आ जा सके. Thank you all of you. Thank you Martin. Thank you Nileen. Thank you Meeta for being here for after a long while. Thank you Sunil. And please carry our love. You would see that we have this lovely Nazrul Tirtha, beautiful architecture, and a lovely place where you can have cinema and theater and exhibition halls. Unfortunately, it is far away from where we live, but Uma, it is right across from where you are in Newtown. And yeah. I'm sure we can one day plan a tour together of Nazrul Tirtha, so that we can get to know a little more. Lovely. Thank you. Very,
I
very
do
nice.
think
Thank
that's
you.
actually a very, very grand place. I mean, if you're are you referring to Nadusitta?
Absolutely.
Yes.
The
Absolutely.
Housing Development Corporation of India, HIDCO.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
Yeah,
a
that's
very
right.
nice facility. Very nice, very great.
So we must make a tour. Any one of you, if Sri Darshini is here, we'll take her with us. She'll be thrilled to go there too, and maybe we'll have a nice
They show good movies as well.
Lovely, 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 lovely. Thank you, all of you, and do stay well and join us on the last Saturday of June at 6 o'clock. Do try, please, as Sitanshu is doing, as Martin is doing, everyone else, if they all join in, it will be so encouraged. Especially another poet from Bangladesh who was here last. Unfortunately, he got hurt and he sent me his photographs, how the spectacle frame has gone inside his. But Jewel was wanting very much to be here. Obaid, if আপনিও যদি আসতে পারেন ফিউচার আড্ডায়, আপনাকে সবাইকে আমাদের ইনভিটেশন যাবেই যাবে। আর যদি একটু লক্ষ্য করে লাস্ট স্যাটারডে যদি আপনি আসতে পারতেন, আমাদেরকে সবাইকে খুব ভালো লাগতো। And last, Shomodev, if he was not working from far away beyond Havra and controlling the ins and outs and muting people, I would not been able to proceed with this. And Shomodev, Actu to me, if you can come on, you know, Shomodev was born just a hop away from Srijan, and he now lives in Havra, of course, but he has been associated with Srijan for a very long time, and behind us, he has been working silently, trying to make things work. So all about him also, our chapbook in the last page gives a lot of warm feeling towards him, because he has helped all the while after he joined us in 2011 in various ways, like today he has done behind the scenes. Thank you very, very much, Shommo, and
Thank you,
all of you. Thank you. A very warm
you,
good night. Thank you.
Good night, all.
Good night.